Cyberpunk 2077, the game that was created and written by CD Projekt Red developers based on the work by Mike Pondsmith. Cyberpunk 2077 is a bit of a controversial game. It is widely received as being a pretty good game, however, it is far from the game that was originally promised by CD Projekt Red. There's a lot that goes into the development of Cyberpunk 2077 that is worth noting and talking about, and I think it's a trend in games recently that has really started to explode in recent years, so I decided to go a bit into the tumultuous history of Cyberpunk 2077. Scandals, mishaps, and so much more. Cyberpunk 2077 is kind of a microcosm of the modern problems that the video game industry has when it comes to development. The game had a lot of hype built up thanks to some, frankly, very good marketing. And because of that, expectations for the game were through the roof. And when I say through the roof, I mean they were cosmic. They recently had some pretty decent success thanks to their success with The Witcher 3, which is one of the best video games of all time. And because of that, when CD Projekt Red said that they were going to do something, most gamers, myself included, honestly believed that they were going to be able to accomplish it because they built up a lot of trust thanks to literally making one of the best games ever made. Because of that, CD Projekt Red, when they promised things, we all believed them. And they had a lot of very unrealistic promises. To give you an idea, one of the game's developers to give you an idea, one of the game's developers essentially said that it was like driving a train while the tracks are still being put down. Halfway through production in 2017, fundamental shifts were made that basically overhauled and changed the entire game as it was being thought up. Going from the third-person game with flying cars that was pretty similar to The Witcher, Adam Badowski basically came in, and now that he was made director of the game, he wanted the game to be in first person to make the game feel a bit more immersive through his point of view, of course. And he basically took out the flying cars, which he also would come up with things last second. So, for example, a late-stage development was adding in police to the game. And then, of course, there were the delays. Cyberpunk 2077 was originally supposed to come out in April 16th. Then it was moved back to September 17th. This was pretty understandable because, COVID kind of ruined everything for a lot of people. But then it delayed from September 17th to November 19th. But, okay, just polishing the game a bit more. When we get into the weeks right before November 19th, and it's December 10th. December 10th is now the release date. Okay, well, at least they didn't they didn't delay it any further than that. And honestly, though, it kind of seems like they should have, because when the game released, of course, there was even more controversy, because glitches galore. The game came out pretty unfinished, and it's pretty clear through all the different glitches. Playing on PS4 back in the day when it first came out, I noticed several glitches. For example, character models wouldn't load in properly, and they would look like they were from the N64 era. It was just a hot mess. So as you can see, Cyberpunk had a pretty tumultuous history. I think that it's improved now. Recently, the game has announced a new expansion. The game has fixed plenty of its glitches, though there are still a lot. And the game's fun. It's not the game that was promised, but it's very fun. And I enjoy it. And despite all of the issues that it had in the years before and then the year or so after it first released, I think it's a fun game now. And I think it's worth playing. But when you play it, it's worth looking at the development history of the game, because the development history is honestly a little rough. And I think it's important to keep in mind when you are buying things from a corporation to look at the work that went into making the product you hold in your hands or you play on your screen. But anyway, that's all for this week. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll be back next week.